By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why billionaires buy football clubs, why the shirts never make a profit, and why not one of these men does it for the money. Gorilla always dreamed of owning a football team. Not playing, owning, standing in the box, wearing a scarf he didn't need, in weather that wasn't cold, clapping slowly like a man who understands tactics he does not, in fact, understand. Gorilla imagined trophies, parades, his face on a giant banner outside the stadium, even though he had never once touched a ball. He imagined respect. Mostly, if we're honest, he imagined being clapped for. So Gorilla bought a club, a real one, second division, slightly rusted gates, a mascot suit that smelled like 1994, and several unresolved regrets. Gorilla walked in like a king. He left 3 hours later, quietly beating his chest in the car park, which, for Gorilla, was never really anger. It was math, bad math, doing that to a body. Here's what nobody tells you about owning a football club. You don't buy a team. You buy 100 small explosions, and then you pay forever to keep them from all going off at the same time. Gorilla's first shock was the players. He assumed he was hiring employees. He was actually hiring feelings. Expensive, moody, extremely fast feelings, each one represented by a man in sunglasses holding 2 phones. Speaking of the man in sunglasses, Gorilla sat down for his first transfer negotiation expecting a business meeting. He got a hostage situation with a coffee machine. The agent didn't want money. The agent wanted respect for the player's journey, which turned out to also somehow cost money. A great deal of it. Gorilla signed the deal anyway. He told himself, "This is an investment." Text on the screen, quietly, mockingly. In what, exactly? Then came the stadium. Gorilla had seen the stadium as a building. It was actually a mouth, an open one. Always hungry. Lights, grass, security, insurance, and a man whose entire job title, apparently, was making sure the grass felt loved. Grass has feelings now, in case nobody told you. Gorilla learned this at 2 in the morning, reading an invoice labeled turf therapy with a straight face. He didn't laugh. He beat his chest instead. Softly this time, like a man doing long division somewhere deep in his soul. Fans were the next surprise. Gorilla thought fans loved the club. They did. Desperately. Which turned out to be the actual problem. Because loving something desperately means demanding everything from it immediately and blaming one specific gorilla in a suit the moment it doesn't arrive on schedule. One Saturday, Gorilla walked into the stadium and felt something enormous settle directly onto his shoulders. It wasn't a person. It was the entire stadium, seats and all. 40,000 expectations, folded neatly into a roof, resting entirely on Gorilla's spine, one match at a time. He carried it to his seat anyway, because apparently that's the job now. Somewhere in the middle of all this, Gorilla remembered why he actually did this. Not the money. He had accepted weeks ago that there wasn't any. There was, in fact, negative money. Money going backward. Money with a personal vendetta against him. He remembered a small plastic trophy he'd bought on his very first day, back when this still felt like a fantasy, back when he still believed a scarf could fix a personality. He kept it on his desk. It was, technically, worth nothing. He looked at it anyway. Often, like it owed him an explanation. Then came sponsorship season, which Gorilla had assumed would finally be the easy part. It was not the easy part. A man in a very expensive tie arrived to discuss brand synergy, which took 45 minutes to mean put our logo on the shirt and give us a say in team colors, and also, somehow, half the parking lot. Gorilla agreed to all of it because the sponsor's check had a number on it that made the stadium roof feel briefly, temporarily lighter. Then came matchday merchandise, which Gorilla had also imagined as easy money. Object shot, a single scarf, folded neatly, price tag visible, printed with a face that was technically Gorilla's, but drawn by someone who had clearly never seen Gorilla. He bought one himself, out of guilt, out of loyalty, out of the quiet suspicion that nobody else would. He wore it around the office that night, alone, checking his reflection in a dark window, practicing the exact nod he'd give fans on match day. Nobody was there to see it. He did it anyway. Then came transfer season again. Gorilla, older now, more tired now, walked into another agent meeting. Same sunglasses, different hostage. This time, Gorilla didn't flinch. He had finally learned the real currency of football ownership. It isn't money, it's tolerance. Tolerance for chaos. Tolerance for ego. Tolerance for grown adult men crying in a locker room over a formation change that, statistically, nobody in the stands could even see. Gorilla signed the new deal calmly, the way a man orders the exact coffee he regrets every single morning, on purpose, forever. Slowly, the team started winning. Small wins first, then bigger ones, then wins that made grown men in scarves hug strangers, which, according to actual psychology, is one of the few socially acceptable ways modern men are still allowed to touch each other in public. The city noticed. Gorilla's name got shouted across the stadium for the first time. Not blamed, shouted, the good kind, the kind that vibrates in your chest before your brain even registers it as sound. Gorilla stood in his box. The scarf still didn't match the weather. But for exactly 1 second, none of the math mattered. The stadium was still sitting on his back. The wages were still insane. The agents were still, somehow, wearing sunglasses indoors at midnight, negotiating snacks. None of that actually left. It just got quieter. Because Gorilla had finally understood something owners rarely admit out loud, usually because their accountants are in the room. You don't own a football club to make money. You own it because, somewhere between the invoices and the losses and the grass therapy bills, it quietly becomes the one place where losing doesn't just feel like losing. It feels like belonging to something bigger than your own bank account. That's expensive. That's also, apparently, the entire point. On the final whistle of the season, Gorilla walked down to the pitch alone. Grass under his feet. Quiet stadium behind him, still humming from 40,000 people who had left an hour ago. He reached into his coat and pulled out the same plastic trophy from day one. Still worthless. Still sitting on his desk every night since, underneath actual, real trophies, refusing to be thrown away. He held it up anyway, under lights that cost more than his childhood home, facing empty seats that had, hours earlier, been screaming his name loud enough to feel like belief. And for the first time all season, Gorilla didn't beat his chest. He just stood there, holding a plastic trophy like it was real. Because by then, to him, it was. And maybe that's the whole economics lesson. Some investments don't pay dividends. They pay meaning instead, which doesn't show up on a balance sheet, but somehow still keeps a grown gorilla coming back every single season, wallet open, chest ready to beat, all over again.